Hello, welcome everybody. This is today's webinar. Today we're going to have Alessandra, Paul, Kyle, and Alicia joining us today. The order is going to be Alicia, Ali, Paul, and then Kyle. So Alicia, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Alisha. I'm from Next School in Mumbai, India. And today I'm going to talk about how we have been incorporating BP living at our school in different ways. Other than the projects so there's a group called the Conscious Cabbages at our school that actively work towards big picture living goals. But today I want to talk about something separate, an initiative that my school took up that I felt like aligned very well with the big picture living 6 measures and was able to give us a give the students a way to incorporate the 6 measures into their life very well. And this is a quote that says, "I'm a great believer in luck, and I find that the harder I work, the more I have of it." Because this is really reflective of what the students sort of went through in the last 3 months. Because we embarked on an Himalayan trek, which was 12,500 feet above sea level. And it was an extremely difficult trek, but we took it up as a school, and almost 100 kids from our school went on this trek. It's called the Kedarkanta trek, and it was extremely rewarding because we got to push ourselves beyond our limits and get to know a lot about ourselves, our limits, our bodies, exercise and diet, and so many other things that really come into picture when you're doing something as strenuous as a Himalayan trek. So it was a week-long trek, but I'd say it was 3-month-long journey, because the idea all started in January. It was presented to us in January, and that's where we started. That's where we started realizing that, okay, now it's the time to prepare our bodies for the trek. So we need to start exercising. We need to get our fitness up. We need to start eating right. And the whole month of February was just, we had like a training plan where all of the students came together, and they started training, and there was a certain plan that they were put on. Their fitness was assessed, and then accordingly they were put on like there was specialized goals for each individual. And so they were able to see that, okay, I moved, and then every single day they had certain movement goals, and what we ate was highly recommended. And then came March, which was the trek itself, of course, in which I think all of the measures were tested in the trek, because our own physical health and our mental health and everything was extremely important, right? Because it's physically straining, it's mentally straining, and it's like, it's constantly pushing yourself. And for that, you need a lot of mental capacity, I feel. So you really need to be in the right state of mind to be able to do that. And I don't think anything creates a better environment than that, than having your peers and those that you work with push you. Because you're not in a completely new environment where you feel unsafe, but at the same time you're not in an environment like with your family where you may not push yourself beyond your limits, where you might just take it easy. So I think it's like the perfect in between. And of course, April, like till now, we've been seeing the aftermath. The kids, including myself, I've never felt more sort of refreshed. I feel very rejuvenated after the trek, right? And not to mention, because this was a cross grades program, I was able to make a lot of new friends, connect with a lot of new people, talk to more people, and like really understand what's going on beyond my small social circle. That really helped me socialize better, improve my communication, and do a lot more. So overall, the trek, one by one, focused on a lot of different measures. So the destinations were for the trek were as follows. First, we reached Sankri with through a flight from here to Dehradun, and then a bus ride, 9 hour long journey to Sankri, which is a small town at the base of the mountain. Then from there we trekked up almost 5 kilometers to something called Juda Ka Talab. And from there, we trekked up to the base camp. And finally, some of the students embarked on the summit, which was 12,500 feet above sea level. So it was a great journey. Especially for the all of the students, especially for the students who really felt like they couldn't do it, but they were able to do it. We all created sort of a chain where we kept pushing each other, where we kept encouraging each other, and seeing other people do it, that was encouragement for us as well. So the preparation, as I mentioned, the preparation started well before the trek, almost 2 months before. And so we each of us went through an individual assessment to find out the level of our fitness. And then there was these personalized training plans created. And the entire structure was like a self-improvement structure, which is very encouraging for somebody just starting off with any any sort of new exercise journey or fitness journey that you start on. I think it's very important to have that, because if you at least for most of me and my peers, what happens is every time we look into getting into exercise or something as such, we always put take up too much, and then we're not able to achieve it, so we stop doing it. So I think it's very important to have a self-improvement structure where you're not trying to break some great world record, you're just trying to break your own record of how much you can achieve in one day, or how much strain you can take, how far you can run, how fast you can run, etc. And this was an open opportunity for anybody to participate. There was not, obviously, the trek is an extremely difficult journey physically. So, but the school didn't tell us that, they were like, if you want to go, you tell us, and we'll make sure you train enough for you to be able to do that. So I think that motivation from the school also really helped us, encourage us to go for this journey. And it was just a communal growth, like 100 students, it's a huge number, right, embarking on this journey, all of us learning from each other, and really just improving each other's health by creating this community. And this is like a sort of sneak peek into what our training plans looked like, right? Where we had runs and squats, and then push-ups and planks, and we had they told us that, okay, there's for our core, we are targeting the balance sort of area, and then we have planks for 1 minute to ensure that that increases, and then we have squats to improve our how strong our legs are, because we would be able to we would have to hike up, which requires a lot of leg strength, and carry our things with us. That also makes the journey even more tough, right? So each of these targeted different sort of aspects, and we all together trained and decided to go for this journey. And on the trek itself, of course, we were pushing our limits, increasing our mental capacity, increasing communication, and building relationships across grades, right? So I think it really helps to like really helps to know that, okay, I was able to do this. This is something out of my comfort zone. And now I'm able to apply that to my own, like my day-to-day life as well, where I'm able to say that, okay, I can't do this, mentality is broken. So I think that was also great. So these are a few pictures from our trek. As you can see, this all 100 of us, a smaller group. This was at the summit. These are just some of the views that we enjoyed. And again, so on the trek, especially on Himalayan treks, you need to make sure that you eat right, and you need to make sure that you sleep right, because during the daytime when you're trekking, you need to have all of your energy. So you need a lot of food, a lot of good, healthy food, and you need to be sleeping for enough amount of time. Without that, you will face, dizziness, difficulty breathing, collapsing, and you might feel warm, like you might feel pukish. And that altitude sickness really gets to you if you don't do all of these things right. So it's like I think it's like a drastic way of showing us what really happens when we don't treat our body well, right? Because in the long run, we are straining our bodies, right? So just like over here, for a short period of time, we must take care of our health very well. Just like that, in a longer run in life itself, we must also take care of our health well, right? Because it is a strenuous activity, just a long stretch strenuous activity at the end of the day. These are just some more views. And so the aftermath of it is that I think mental health affects everybody in the community, right? And conscious efforts by schools really help boost our morale and build confidence in us. And for example, this entire initiative was taken up by the school, and the teachers were with us all throughout the way. And that really, really helped, to know that the school was looking out for us in this way. I don't think that's something we realized till we came back and recognized the benefits of going on this trek, right? And we form connections that are unlikely to be made otherwise. I think this is very important, because I saw even those, in my school, in my class, in my peer group, even those students who might have had problems socializing before, now really opened up and found someone or the other. So I think like that there's somebody there for everybody in the community. It's just about finding the right people. And something like this, a big initiative where so many people come together like this, that really helps build that. So thank you. That was what I wanted to share today. Do any of you have any questions? Okay.
Alisha, this is Paul at Odyssey STEM Academy outside of Los Angeles, California. I want to thank you so much for sharing the story of your journey. Most impressive and really well presented. I did have a question for you. You mentioned the importance of building unlikely new friendships and relationships on this journey. I was wondering if you could share an example of a moment when either you supported one of your classmates or a classmate supported you on this trip.
I don't think there's one moment. I mean, of course, I can mention one moment, but like there were hundreds of moments like these. For example, at one point we were sort of taking like charge of the entire group, like the older 11th and 10th graders. So me and my peers, and that was one place where I helped one of the younger students. She had a foot injury and she really needed some support coming down. And we took our time, but when she finished, she sort of expressed that gratitude towards me. And I felt like it was just a constant chain of giving back, because initially during the trek, I had fallen severely sick, and a lot of people took care of me. So I felt like, when she expressed that gratitude, it was like I felt like I had given back to the community that helped me.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. I think that's so cool. Just the whole learning experience and your journey, and how you guys like supported each other. It's just incredible to see classes, and just the amount of students. You said like 100, right? That joined onto this track. Like that is so amazing. So proud of you. Yeah, and like how you organized it. So congrats on that.
Curious, was that was this a collaboration of the students and the teachers to organize it, or like, because that's amazing. You must have had to travel, on a bus a long way to get there. I mean, India is on the border, but I don't know. I mean, like how you, or was it, that's a huge excursion, and I just wondered how just the logistics of it is amazing.
So the entire trek was planned by the school and the advisors at the school, but we supported as much as we can on the trek itself. But logistically, we took a plane from here. It's like a 2-hour plane journey from here to Dehradun. It's near the capital of India. And from there, we had a 9-hour long bus journey to a town at the base of the mountain. And then from there, we hiked up.
Amazing.
Well, if there's no more questions for Alisha, by the way, thank you so much. Beautiful presentation. I'm going to pass the mic on to Ali. Take it away, Ali.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Alessandra Sadiano. You guys can call me Ali for short because I know that my name is so long to remember, but I'm from the Odyssey STEM Academy. And this is my first time presenting for BP Living. So how exciting. I'm going to get my slides out. So a little bit about me. I'm from California, and I was born and raised in Long Beach, even though I go to school in Paramount. Kind of weird, but I'm going to start off with a quote. So this is about drugs and substance abuse, which applies to the caution principles. And the quote that I chose, which is recovery is an ongoing process for both the addict and his or her family. In recovery, there is hope, and hope there is a wonderful thing, which is from Dean Dauphinales. And I chose this quote because it kind of inspired me to present this presentation, because I can relate to the different aspects of substance abuse. Because when I go over the table of contents, I have a story from family and from friends that has to do with substance abuse. And substance abuse can stem from alcoholism or doing drugs, etc. But one thing that I can relate to about substance abuse is that in my family, there's always been like patterns of alcoholism. For example, my uncle, he immigrated from El Salvador over here, but then I guess like at one point he wasn't doing well in life, so he started doing drugs. He started drinking a lot, and that became substance abuse. And then eventually he got into poverty, etc. And from that example, I set myself up to say, hey, like, I don't want this to happen to me. So I looked at different resources in order for me to keep me away from that, because I didn't want to go through the pattern that always occurs in my family. Another example of substance abuse that occurred within my friend group was when I met this girl back in middle school, and she already started smoking and drinking in 7th grade, and I'm like, they can start as early as in 7th grade, and that's the reality too, where some students feel like, oh, it's cool to do this, it's cool to drink, to smoke and stuff like that, but in reality, that leaves you more susceptible to go into this pattern where you get addicted to those things. And at one point, I was even peer pressured by her and her friends to even drink in the restroom, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So let's go into avoidance. So that it is notable that tobacco use and drinking an excessive amount of liquor increases the gamble of numerous persistent infections and demise. A few medicines work for liquor misuse. So it's best to avoid those things because when you get addicted, it affects the different parts of your body. And this is the 4 stages of getting addicted. So first you start with experimentation, and especially if you start experimenting, let's say in middle school or high school, you think that it's cool, that it makes you feel good, but it's only temporary. And then, but once you start liking it, you start using it regularly. Like for example, with my friend, she started using it every now and then, every month, every week. And at one point, I managed to get her clean off for 3 months. But because she liked it so much, she just went back. So she eventually became a high-risk use. And she actually went into rehab at one point, but then she was so addicted to it that she just was so stubborn. And that affected her brain too, because when she wouldn't get that nicotine out of smoking or that feeling of drinking, she'd feel very helpless. She'd feel anxious and stuff like that. And that's how it affects the teenage brain as well. Here's a video that I wanted to play that kind of inspired me also to present this. So let me play it right here.
I think more and more now people see addiction as a developmental disorder. We think about addiction as something that just happens to adults, but in truth is, it really has its roots stemmed in adolescence. That's when most of the people who become addicted try drugs. For example, if you start using an illicit drug before you're 18, we have a 25% chance of becoming addicted. But if you start using an illicit drug after the age of 21, you only have a 4% chance of becoming addicted. So adolescence is a crucial time for the development of addiction. And I started to become very interested in that because I looked at the effect of nicotine on cocaine, and I found that actually nicotine has a very unique ability to basically loosen the DNA. And Eric was talking about gene expression, and when that DNA is loosened, what happens is that when cocaine comes along, then there's a much more massive increase of gene expression that's related to addiction. And in my research, I started looking at the effect of nicotine specifically on cocaine, and I found that nicotine has this effect that it increases gene expression that's related to addiction. But what I found actually later in adolescence was something very different. I didn't expect that. I thought that nicotine would do that even more so in adolescence. But I found something very different. Because when I looked at the adolescent brain at baseline, I saw that the DNA was already loosened up in that particular area in the brain, in the nucleus accumbens. So at baseline, the adolescent brain is much more sensitive to the effect of almost any other drug of abuse. And so if you expose the adolescent brain to any of those drugs, you'll get more of that growth that Eric described, because the DNA is more open, basically open to soaking up new experiences. So this is the compact DNA that you see that oftentimes in adults. And what I saw in adolescence was a very different picture. It was something more like that, a much looser DNA. So the gene expression, so the genes that are over there basically can get expressed a lot more in that particular stance when it's more loose.
Yeah, so after watching that video, I can kind of like see how it kind of like affected my way of thinking too, because this pattern of substance abuse that occurs in my family, the reason why it occurs is because it's not only because of genetics, but because since my family members see it from person to person to person, they get also peer pressure to do it as well. And that leads also to substance abuse as well. And I believe that the reason why I'm talking about this too is because I felt like my purpose was also to share my story and to tell people, hey, like you need to keep it under control when it comes to alcohol and tobacco or nicotine, whatever drugs you're going to use, because you never know what can go down. You can go through the 4 stages, and you can go through substance abuse, and then going through rehab and stuff like that is very hard too. But move that part and let me skip. Oops. So after watching the video, let's discuss a little bit. So what are your thoughts on substance abuse? If anyone wants to go ahead and talk, share their thoughts or anything like that.
I was going to ask you, Ali, how do you think teens should, go against substance abuse, and how do you think they should prevent it in the future from happening to their children and their family members?
Yes, sorry about the echo. So I feel like if people or like family members want to prevent that from passing on to their future generations of kids, that they should talk about it, because although substance abuse is like very shameful, especially when you're the one that's going through it, it's important to share your story about it, because if it's just quiet and stuff like that, people are not going to understand where you're coming from. And when you don't understand where you're coming from, then I mean, how would I put this? They're not going to learn from it. And when they don't learn from it, they're going to just follow the same pattern over and over again. So in order for families, in order for friends to make sure that their peers don't go through that, you need to tell them, hey, like you gotta stop, you gotta keep it down a notch. And that's what happened when I was talking to that friend of mine that was addicted to nicotine and alcohol. And I was able to manage, I managed to get them clean after 3 months. But then I mean, it went and then it came again. So it's a long process, but that's why you have to seek resources in order for you to stop doing that. So let me go on to the next slide. This is what occurs when it comes to substance abuse. So it affects the brains, it affects the neurons, just like what they said there in the video. And like cannabis or nicotine, it's made so that it can calm down your brain, but it also it shapes your brain in a way where you start getting addicted to it. And because you get addicted to it, your brain is just telling you, hey, you need to get more of that, you need to get more of that because we like it. So that's something that you have to take into consideration as well. And it also affects parts like the lungs, heart, stomach, intestines, liver. I can go on and on about it, but I think it's gonna keep on going to talk about how we can treat it. So there's methods where you can stop substance abuse, such as using medications, which can be prescribed by your doctors or your therapist, etc. And you can go through counseling. You can go one-on-one with a psychiatrist, therapist. You could do rehab, talk to someone on a hotline, etc. And that's what I found was most helpful for my friend as well, because although she went through rehab, it didn't work out for her. But when it came down to one-on-one, sometimes it doesn't even have to be a therapist. It can just be a friend too. She started to manage it a little bit here and there. But I also felt like she could have at least put her foot down and just say, hey, I don't want to get addicted anymore. I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to a specialist. And that's why when it comes to going out of substance abuse, you have to make sure that your main goal is that you're going to recuperate. Because some people just say, oh, like, I don't want to go through rehab because I like doing it. But the thing is that the reason why you're going through rehab is because you're trying to make your life better for yourself. So it's a pattern. It's a process that can take forever, but it's a process that can change your life for the better. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation.
If anybody has any questions for Ali, now would be the time to ask them.
Ali, I was really impressed and moved by the details about the impact of early substance abuse in young people. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what do you think would be an effective way to try and communicate these ideas? Now, you've seen how schools have tried to maybe incorporate these conversations into advisory lessons. It's embedded into health class. But I'm wondering, from your perspective, what kind of learning experience would make a better impact?
Actually, a great question, and I have to think about it a little bit. Yeah, so I feel like someone, especially if someone is like an adult that's went through substance abuse, would come in and present to students our age or younger and just say, hey, this is what happened to me. but you guys can avoid this if you follow my advice, because schools can say, oh yeah, drugs are bad, but I mean, when it comes from someone that actually has gone through it, it's more like it leaves an impact on people because they see the real deal.
All right, so if there's no more questions for Ali, I would like to pass the mic to Paul. Take it away, Paul.
Hey everybody, my name is Paul and I go to Odyssey STEM Academy. Same thing as my peers. I have Paul, Maria, Ali, and Kyle here. Let me get a second to pull up my presentation real fast. Hold on my slides. Okay, so my subject was chill, and I wanted to present to you guys about learning about mental health and stress, because I think it's an important journey for all other aspects of living. Without having that mental health or awareness, sometimes things can really impact us differently, and it's really important just to check up on yourself. So I have just a little bit of inspirational things like your mental health is always a priority. I don't want anyone to feel like their mental health is better than anyone else's or less than anyone else's, because mental health is honestly everyone's going through something, but it's the ways we cope with it, how we talk about it, how we share our feelings, and how we deal with it. And it's not always a straightforward journey. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be curves. But you always got to understand that mental health is always a process, and everyone should strive to at least achieve a better well-being and a better, just a better life in general when it comes to mental health. Some things I was going to go through is the introduction, just an introduction to a healthier lifestyle that reduces stress and how you can plan your own stress reducing goals. Why is it important to manage stress? So what's good and bad stress, and how can stress be harmful? Some self-management tips, how can you healthily manage your stress and time, and how can you avoid it or cope with it? And then my last thing is just chill, just activities, you can do with your friends, or just activities I do to personally feel like less stress, or, just come back to reality and have some fun. All right, so my introduction. So what is stress? Everyone's dealt with stress at least one time in their life. Everyone deals with it differently. And according to MedlinePlus.gov, stress is basically a feeling of emotional or physical tension. So this can come from a lot of different things. You can feel frustrated from having stress. You feel angry. You can feel nervous. Stress is your natural bodily reaction to challenge or demand, and it can be caused in short bursts. But as long as you avoid it, it'll be better for you in the long term. So I'm gonna start off with some stress reducing goals. So setting reasonable goals for yourself that you can manage stress is a perfect start in a low stress lifestyle. Make these goals achievable, but make sure they're not impossible, and reasonably push yourself so you can do your best. You want to try to plan and tackle these goals and apply them to your own situation. So I went by the SMART goal method. There's a bunch of other goal methods, but I personally feel like this works the best for me. So for the S in SMART, it's specific. What are you going to do to manage your stress? So for me, I will create more time for my work and make sure that I carefully manage time and workload to avoid getting overwhelmed or stressed. So an example is this week I have a project due by the end of the week, right? So for M, measurable, how will you manage your goal? By completing a certain amount of work per day to achieve my goal by the end of the week. Is it obtainable? Do you have what it takes to follow through? And I put yes. As long as I manage my time and work, I can do a little bit of work every day and chip off just a bit of my project. So I make sure I'm done by the end of the week. What can you actually do? I want to set time for self-checkups, planning out work, and scheduling personal due dates. So maybe on one day I'll get the first paragraph done, and then another day I can get another paragraph done. As long as they all build up, and by the end I'll be able to finish it, no problem. And time bound, how frequently and how long will I commit? I will make my progress goal to better manage my time. I want to have at least once a week checkup stay committed as long as possible. So you can apply this to anything you're doing. If you have like we have exhibition, you always want to make sure you set personal goals. You don't overwork yourself, you don't burn out, and you keep self-awareness by yourself. Which our next slide is self-awareness. So just make sure to check on yourself emotionally. Take time to check up on your emotions. And it does take courage. It takes courage to make sure that you put yourself first. And it's not selfish that you put yourself first than others. Because sometimes you need to check up on who you are, what's going on in your life, and how you can cope with it. So trust, always talk to a trusted one when you can. So make sure you have connections with others and your well-being. You need to talk about it sometimes. You have counselors, therapists, other resources. Sometimes I just find talking to a friend or an advisor is just really calming, lets me put a lot of weight off my chest. I just feel better than overall. So integrity, just be whole to yourself, be honest, and have your own morals. So you never want to work yourself out. You don't want to push yourself too much. Exercising too much, sometimes that happens. You do too much work, you stress about things. Just calm down and have a little bit of time to check up on yourself. So why is it important to manage stress? Well, there are different versions of stress. There's a good type of stress. Good stress is like a feel when you're excited about it. So some things can occur, like good stress can occur from roller coasters, which is a good type of stress. Playing video games, just going on a first date, anything out of these stressors is good stress. It's usually short term, doesn't last long, and it won't cause any problems. It's more of like an anxious feeling, but you know it's going to be all right. Bad stressors, the stress that can wear you out, these can become very chronic and fatal in the long run. And it comes usually from overworking yourself. So a lot of things like if you stress out about projects, you got too many things on your mind, it could be very unhealthy and in the long run can cause other types of stress like these. So acute stress is usually just caused by a stressful event, usually very short term, doesn't really last long, but it can cause very sharp pains, can be very painful, and it can turn into a more severe type of stress. It usually occurs after a traumatic event. So a family member passing could cause this. Anything that like changes your natural balance, it could really mess you up. But as long as you manage it and keep it at an acute stress level, it's better than having it at a chronic stress. Episodic acute stress is a frequent and reoccurring jolts of pain. So it happens when people take more responsibility than can be handled, and that's usually often. So constantly running late, being disorganized, or constantly being in a rush. If you're constantly doing things and you're not like having time for yourself, you don't have any time for hobbies, you're just doing work. It's really bad for you, actually. A lot of the symptoms can be like heart attacks. You can have a lot of heartaches, and it can turn into chronic stress, which is long-lasting stress that can be life-threatening. Stress is one of the number one killers in just the world in general, because people tend to think of stress as something everyone goes through and it's fine, but it can really cause like anything from death to heart attacks, and you can feel pressured or overwhelmed for a long time period. Then you can develop a chronic stress. Number 3, I'm just going through self-management tips. So ways to take, emotional self-awareness. So stay active, exercise at least an hour a day, just have time to walk outside, play some ball with your friends. Eating healthy, you got to eat healthy, try eating better at least. Eating healthy definitely helps the brain and the body feel more at peace. Staying well rested, something I'm still working on, but always get at least a minimum of 9 hours of sleep each day. If you can get more hours of sleep, honestly, that's better. But staying well rested is just so important for your mental health. It's literally just the world. Practice meditation or yoga. It could just be learning a new skill when you're practicing meditation, learning breathing techniques, exercises and stretching. Work on, or find new hobbies. You can work on previous hobbies. So the thing I'm working on right now is playing guitar, something I'm like really passionate about and getting into, and it just helps as a really good de-stressor. And objectives, make sure that you can plan goals and objectives to achieve something like a milestone to get or go after, something that's not too hard and just easily attainable. I just want to take time to just make sure you, to remind everyone, never overwork yourself, make sure to eat healthy, exercise a lot. With the SMART goals, you can also achieve any goal you want. Meditation and yoga is a perfect way to do this, to calm yourself down. Also having a checklist and like personal goals that you want to achieve, you can plan them out on a calendar, have a checklist of your to-do list, things you want to achieve by the end of the week. I want to get my project done, for example. So I'm going to set a checklist. Maybe I want to do a paragraph, then I want to do my website, then I want to submit it by Friday. And then just a bit of mental health and mental well-being. Sometimes you got to recharge. You got to talk to other people about it. You got to get your mind off of whatever stressors you have. And if you don't, like, it could really cause depression, other kind of mental illnesses or mental disorders that are just really unhealthy. And then the last one is just chill. So like ways I manage my stress. My stress is I love playing piano. I love playing guitar on my own time, just to de-stress. I also enjoy playing video games and other activities. So like I like listening to music. I like playing video games. Sometimes I play with my friend Kyle and then we yell a lot, but we're all just having fun, you know? And then sometimes I just like to make a collage of just things I really like. So I have a collage of some motivational tips, motivational things, things I like. I also have my cat in there because I love my cat. I'm a little Koji. And then I have like some dolls I really like, and just some quotes, push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Thank you, everybody, for listening to my presentation. I'll be going through questions if you guys got any.
If there's no questions for Paul, I'll move on to our last presenter, Kyle. The webinar will end like at 10:30, so take it away, Kyle.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle, and I am a student at Odyssey STEM Academy. I will be sharing you my big picture learning. I'll be talking about moving because that's one thing I'm really good at. Before we start, I was wondering, could anybody just raise their hand and see how long they can hold their hand out? Please, I'll explain later. All right, I will be starting off with move. And since I have a time limit, I'm going to be doing a plank while doing it because I like making my life harder. All right, we're going to start off with move. I'm going to be explaining what is exercise, why is it important, can anybody exercise, and how do I exercise? To start off with, what is exercise? Exercise is the activity requiring physical effort. It is used to maintain or improve physical health, and it can be done anywhere. Like literally, I'm in a room, in a classroom. Why I started exercising. A little bit about me is moving in from middle school, being a follower, and moving into high school, which I wanted to try to be a leader. I decided to start exercising to make myself better. I also was dealing with a silly little heartbreak. Then my teacher, Mrs. Perry, he was like 60 to 70 years old. He was really healthy and really active, and I wanted to be like him, Now I'm gonna talk about the types of exercise, calisthenics, which is what I'm doing right now. Calisthenics is anything from push-ups to legs up. Weightlifting is curling, lifting heavy weights. Calisthenics is used for basic things such as, you say you want to find something off the couch. You could do a push-up, get down, grab it. If you want to do weightlifting, you'll just pick up the couch. If you're going to do yoga is something simple as, meditating, staying still. It's really, really good and it's really, really hard. I have a struggle doing it. Then there's CrossFit, only for weight loss. That's literally it. I'm sorry, but I don't like what last said. Cardio. Cardio is very, very important, and many athletes use this, especially people who do track and field. It increases your stamina, endurance, stuff like that. What you're basically doing is just running the whole time, and static, which is why I asked you guys to raise your hand. Static is basically holding a position for very long periods of time to build up muscle endurance, which is why you guys are all raising your hand, because your muscles are going to get tired eventually. They don't want to be put down. And fighting it off is what you want to do. That's why if you see people just holding positions, you're going to eventually get tired, you know? Okay, next, why is it important? Exercise is very important because it helps your body stay young as you're getting older. Like, I've seen people like Mr. Samperi, he was 70, almost 70 years old, but yet he can do way more push-ups than I could at the time. Of course, I was an 8th grader, but you know, it increases your chance of fighting off diseases and infections, a healthy body, a healthy, you know, life. Gives you better sleep, lower your chances of body failure, makes your muscles way stronger. And again, you could be 80 with the cells and body of a 20-year-old. Like seriously, stay young forever, you know? These are some key reminders that I wish I knew when I started. I started exercising, eating a horrible diet. It's called known as dirty bulking. Is where you eat like junk food to get big, but you're not strong, you're not healthy, you're very sluggish and tired all the time, which is what I'm trying to fight off. I'm trying to be healthier, you know, eat less fatty foods, check the ingredients. This is going to sound weird, and I do this all the time in the store. I'll literally look at the food labels and I'll read, you know, added sugar, what the ingredients are and stuff like that, because you don't want to put something in your body you don't know what it is. If it's something simple or something like that, you can Google it to see what it is. But if it's some long hydro club word, whatever, don't eat it, please. Added sugar is bad, but sugar is good because you need sugar for your cells and your DNA. But added sugar is too much and which you don't need. Next, we have just be careful when exercising. Don't drink or smoke. It's really going to damage your lungs. Like I've had friends who were like athletes. They were like top tier, in shape, you know, Superman type of guy looking, right? But they start drinking and their body went to shame. And yeah, it's just did not end well for them. Sleeping is very, very important because it allows your body to recover. You need 8 to 10 hours of sleep if needed or is needed, but I get 7 and I'm always tired. But next we have 1 to 2 day breaks. I suggest 1 to 2 day breaks if you're just trying to exercise just to increase your body, make it more healthier. But if you actually have a goal like, being big, muscular type of person, then take shorter breaks. Now, can exercise be done by anyone? Yes. Exercise can be done by anyone. It does not matter your condition. Like, look at this guy. He's literally paralyzed from the leg down, but he's still doing tennis, which is a form of cardio. And there are tons of athletes. Like Zion Clark, he's a very inspirational guy. He's a guy who was no lower half, but he's a wrestler. And not only that, he's jacked, like really, really jacked. So you don't have to think that you're too big, too small, too thin, eat more, eat less, eat healthier. Ways to get started. You don't need money. Exercise does not have to be expensive. You can do calisthenics, which is something as simple as doing push-ups, squats. You can even watch TV and do couch exercises, which is what I got my mom into. Every time there's an ad, you do 10 push-ups, a jumping jack, stuff like that. You can use the floor. Like the floor is going to be your best friend. If you have no money, like what I did, I had no money, so I started off with calisthenics. I used something simple as the floor and the wall to do push-ups and stuff. I see Allie put her hand down. You can get chairs for dips. You can go for a run, volunteer at a sports club. If you really like weightlifting and you don't have the money to afford it, you can use trash bags. This is actually a technique my dad taught me from prison. You get trash bags and fill them up with water and get a broomstick and he'll curl it. You can use your friend. Like I'll get Paul and I'll put him on my back and do squats with. You also need a plan because you can't just randomly wake up and be like, I'm going to exercise today. Because you need to find out what times you're available, your space and your limits, like your physical limits, and you choose what exercise is more suitable for you. Because different exercises are different things. Like say you're going for football, you might want to do weightlifting because you're going to be throwing and lifting heavier people. But let's say you're doing something like track and field, you do cardio. and maybe calisthenics because those involve body movement. Then you need to get a proper warm-up set up. Stretching and cardio is the best way you can do any warm-up. I do yoga and I do cardio before and after because I don't like staying still. And get equipment if wanted. It's not needed at all. Don't be like me. I spent like what, $200 and something on equipment and I don't use none of it. I just use the floor and my brother's bunk bed. And get tons of water and buy more healthier food. It's the only part about exercising is you have to eat healthy. Otherwise, it's all going for waste. Now I want to talk about how I exercise. I do a mixture of all types of exercises. I just don't do CrossFit. I just don't do CrossFit. My main style is what I call weighted calisthenics. It was a thing before I found out about it. But basically, I get this little thing right here, this weight vest. Mine is 17 pounds, but I usually add a 40-pound weight on my back when I do push-ups, squats, sit-ups, or anything. I do handstands. I also have my pre-workout to get my heart beating because I need to feel pumped. I need to be like, rah, that type of person when I'm gonna exercise. So what I do is I do speed push-ups, which is as many push-ups as I can do, non-proper form, none of that good stuff. I'll run in place and I'll do as many squats. I also do static holds, which is what you guys have been doing. Keeping your hands up, T-posing. I'll occasionally just lift my body up for as long as I can. And of course, I'll stretch, I'll do splits. I'll do the fourth grade thing that you do. I don't know what this is called. I'll do the other fourth grade thing where you put your hand behind your back. And I'll do cardio. And overall, exercising is just very important. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, you can always exercise. And I know this is going to sound a little selfish, but no one's really fat. I mean, everybody has abs. You just have stuff in front of it that's preventing it. So you just need to eat healthier to get your abs. If you want bigger biceps, probably exert yourself, You can look the way you choose your life and you can be how you want to be, if that makes sense. A quote I like to live by Ronnie Coleman, the 8-time Mr. Olympian. This guy, as you can tell, he's very, very, very muscular. But he has this quote, and I'm pretty sure if you have internet or social media, you'll hear this quote a lot. It's called, "Yeah, buddy, lightweight," referring to that no matter how hard it is, it must be light. When I'm on the floor doing 150 push-ups, I'm trying to hit that 150 mark, I hear that quote in my head. I do 20 more. So exercising is, all it is depending on who you are and what you can capable of. Don't overexert yourself. If you know you can only do 50, aim for 60, but don't aim for 70 because you'll push yourself too hard and you'll be sore in the morning. And trust me, when you have to write that essay and your arm is twitching, it ain't fun. So practice it at your own level and remember it takes time. It took me 2 years of dirty bulking and then it took me another 2 years of starting to switch to eating healthier, which is where I'm at now. I'm all right what I look like. I'm pretty strong, carry everybody in my school, including Paul. All right, thank you. Be healthy, stay healthy, get healthy, enjoy life. Oh yeah, you can put your hands down.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Kyle?
I have a quick question. Kyle, for those students who aren't, say, super physically active, what sort of motivation tips do you have to offer? How do you find motivation when you have those days where you're just not feeling it?
All right, so I have three. One of them is a little sad, one of them is a little funny, and one is a little quirky. The first one is that everybody has those friends who, does things or says things that hurts them. And I use that anger to motivate me. The second thing is when I take progressional pictures and I look at myself when I'm like top form, all pumped up and all muscular, and I want to look like that. I want to be like that person. I want to be like my pump. But I know I can't because I get bigger, my pump gets bigger. So that I use that as motivation. And then the third method, and overall, this is the quirky part. If you start working out, or if you want to work out, but you just like so tired, you have to mentally, like, I guess, reprogram yourself to be like, hey, I have to. Something light has to happen. Like the days I don't want to work out, I'll do something as light as like 50 push-ups or 10 squats, because you have to slowly begin to program yourself. Like with Paul, it took him a while to get him used to it, because I had to bring him to track club. I had to force him to do wall sits, not like, well, with consent, of course, but I had to like say, hey, dude, at least try, you know? You have to program yourself, because there's no real way you can work out unless you want to. So if you start off something light as 1 push-up today, in a month, you could probably do 30.
Awesome. Thank you. Those are really great tips.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. Have a great day. Bye.